Hi everyone, and welcome to Starting from Scratch, episode 14. This week's bow technique is going to be about spiccato, beginner version of spiccato of course. And this week's string hand technique is going to be the same double stops I did last week for two reasons. The one reason is that I didn't have very much time to practice, which is annoying, but that's just part of being a violinist, and since I'm a double violinist now, practicing time is actually difficult to come by. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to do them again, but I'm going to add tremolo to it and I will explain why. Now, why would one do spiccato before one can even actually play properly? The answer is quite easy. It helps learning to play properly. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this on two strings, not just one string, because two strings stabilizes the bow. And what I want to do is I want to get used to the bow bouncing on its own, a little bit like I did with the ricochet, but this is not going to be a passive bowing like ricochet, but this is going to be a semi-passive bowing. So what I want my hand to do is I want my hand to get used to this bouncing bowing and get used to the bow bouncing on its own. And I want to teach my hand to direct the bouncing a little bit with this finger motion. It's one of the reasons why the finger bowing is so important. So I'm just going to start on D and A string. First of all, I'm just going to let the bow bounce backwards and forwards, down bow, up bow, and see what I can do about adjusting. Okay, now the bow bounces on its own, and instead of with ricochet letting it bounce and catching it, what I'm doing is I'm changing the direction for each note. Notice that I'm allowing the bow to bounce quite high. That's largely to make it a bit easier for myself. It gives me a bit more time. Now I'm going to see that once I get it bouncing, that I can start incorporating this finger movement. Okay, first thing I noticed is I have to bring the violin up a little bit, because if the violin is sloping down, then the strings, which are already sloping from the bridge to the bottom of the fingerboard, are sloping even more, and then my bow will want to follow gravity, and that makes it difficult. So I have to bring the violin up. Let's do this again. Much easier. Okay, I'm noticing that I'm having coordination problems, so I'm going to do this slower again, bouncing higher. I'm not too worried about the sound right now because it's the movement that I'm practicing, but I am going to try to speed it up a little bit and get it to bounce less high and see if I can improve the sound a bit. I have to remind myself to bring my violin up again. This is difficult. The coordination is difficult. My brain is having a hard time here. Okay, slightly better. I'll do the lower strings. Bow hold. That seems to work better. Yes, I went a bit closer to the frog. That seems to help. was fun. That was fun. Now, I cannot at all influence how long the bow is on the string. I'm just dropping the bow and it's coming back up on its own. But I did notice going closer to the frog helped a little bit, and I'm quite glad that I could incorporate this finger movement a little bit, at least. So what this does is it's giving me a feeling for the bow. I'm practicing reacting with the fingers, and I'm getting used to the energy of the bouncing bow. So this kind of spiccato practice is also something I could recommend to just about everybody out there, because it does give you a good feeling for the bow, and that's always helpful, especially at this stage. Now I'm going to repeat the double stops I did last week. Not practiced as much as I would like them to be practiced, but I guess if I'm documenting what I'm doing, I have to document that as well. So here we go. And now I'm going to do tremolo. Okay, that was my first tremolo I've ever done this way around. Why am I doing that? It sounds terrible. The reason I'm doing that is because that will teach my third finger where the G is. That's the point of it. Plus, it's a fantastic coordination exercise of right and left hand, left and right hand in this case, because the bow has to move smoothly, which it's not, and the finger has to move rapidly, which it also isn't doing. But just practicing this is practicing coordination. Now I'm going to do it with the first finger. My first trill. Okay, with the first finger it was a bit easier than with the third finger. Now I'm going to practice going from first finger to third finger. Okay, it sounds terrible because my finger isn't strong enough to move rapidly, but it does teach my hand the distance between first and third finger. Now I'm going to finish off with just playing them as double stops once. Okay, very difficult, but I do notice that my hand and my fingers are starting to learn a little bit where the notes are. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the two middle strings. Okay, string hand was a little bit better. For that the bow slid around like crazy. First finger. difficult. I can see and feel very much that my fingers can't really do this, but this is very, very helpful, learning the distances between the notes. Now, everything was sliding off in the end. Doesn't matter, this is very strenuous, but I know this helps and I feel it's getting a little bit better. Okay, A and E string. Yes, it's a bit easier on the higher strings because one doesn't need to be as strong for tremolo. So this is definitely making my fingers a bit stronger. I wouldn't be able to do this if I hadn't practiced so much string hand pizzicato, by the way. So this is a method building up one on the other exercise. So I'm very glad that I spent the time practicing the string hand pizzicato. Okay, now first finger. Okay, strange trill, but I know this helps. Okay, I wanted to badly finish off with an octave which is in tune. So this is a very tough exercise and I'm going to have to practice this a lot, but it's very, very helpful, especially as a beginner, because that's what teaches the fingers exactly where the notes are and the distances between the notes. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Try these exercises out for yourself. Let me know in the comments how they work for you. And also, of course, if you have any questions or anything like that. And see you next week. Bye.